Welcome back to the Sports Wrap, joined now by Kevin McNamara, college hoops writer for the Providence Journal. Thanks for coming in. You were at PC practice today. The big news is Ben Bentel's ankle. What was Ed Cooley saying about that?
We were there. Ben was not. He was getting treatment. He says he's very, very sore. I think that what we don't know is it a high ankle sprain? How bad of a sprain is it? Obviously, high ankle sprain would keep him out of Saturday or really limit his production. I think in a perfect world, they'd like to get Ben on the court as close to 100% as possible, but more importantly, really have him 100% going forward.
Any chance PC can beat number 3 Villanova without Bentel?
No.
All right.
No.
Let's get that out there.
I'll put my stake in the ground for that one.
Okay, we'll talk more about the game Saturday in just a bit. First, you were in Chicago for the DePaul upset, and right when it started and they took the lead, you kind of felt like it was the typical trap game where maybe looking ahead to Villanova, obviously Bentel got banged up, but let's talk about that one. You know,
consistently falling behind out of the gate. It was 8-0, 11-2. You can't do that on the road consistently and be able to survive. And obviously, when you lose your best big man, top leading scorer in the Big East on top of that, it was just too much for the Friars to get back. And their execution down the stretch offensively was not good.
How much does a loss like that hurt them when we see their tournament resume during the selection show? Under bad loss, it's going to say DePaul. Will that really hurt them in terms of seeding?
It will. It'll hurt them. There's no question. I think Providence wants to be in the top 4. I know we've talked about this before. You get preferential sight if you're in the top 4 seeds. You know, it's going to be difficult to be in the top 4 if you rack up, 7, 8 Big East losses. They have a very difficult stretch right now going forward, beginning Saturday with the number 1 team in the league.
Yep, so number 3 versus number 11, and we talked recently about how the Xavier environment was one of the best in dunk history. This will probably be as big of a game in a long time at the Dunk, sold out obviously. In terms of just a college basketball vibe, is this a game not only that has importance in New England, but maybe nationally?
Oh, there's no question. I know that Fox, for example, pulled in their top crew from the West Coast for this game. Now, I think they really want Ben Bentel and Daniel Oshefu to play. Oshefu was the senior center at Villanova, has a concussion. He's very doubtful for Saturday as well. But obviously a high-level matchup. Providence can sweep Villanova. Maybe that contradicts what I just said about losing to DePaul, because obviously that's a really high-profile 2 wins.
All right, X's and O's, you were at the game when they played at Nova and won. A lot of people, I think, were watching the Patriots game that day, so those who didn't see it, what did we learn in the matchup then, and how will it translate to Saturday?
When Providence pushed the pace and kind of ran at Villanova, that's not what the Wildcats like to see. They like a more controlled tempo and where they're the offensive aggressor. The big key in that game was Ben Bentel. He had 32 points and 13 rebounds. Clearly the dominant big guy on the floor. Can't expect, can't assume that he's going to be able to, produce like that on Saturday. But obviously just having him out there, even if it's at 80%, is a big advantage for the Friars.
And I just want to talk about seeding one more time. A lot of times rankings don't translate to seeding. I remember, what was it, SMU was 25 in the country, didn't make the tournament a couple years ago. Can a PC fan look and say, all right, if they're 16, 4 regions, 4 times 4 is 16, they're a 4 seed at 16, or it doesn't always work that way?
It doesn't work that way at all. I mean, the rankings are done by guys like me. We vote every Monday morning, Sunday night, and our opinions are what the polls are. Needless to say, we're not in the room for the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. They use a kind of 1 through 64 guide, and I'd say Providence right now is not at 11 in that 1 to 64. They're probably more in the high teens, 20. So again, they're right on the cusp of being top 4, maybe a 4 or a 5 seed. But really, take a look at their schedule. They have some very difficult games coming up.
One last question about Chris Dunn. Obviously, he has a national profile at this point, probably the best point guard in the country. Can his draft stock increase or decrease over the next month, or at this point, everyone knows what he presents?
I think he's pretty solid right now in the NBA scouts' eyes, but if you tell me Providence goes to the Sweet 16 Final Four, lock, stock, and barrel, top 5, no question. Providence goes on a losing streak here to end, easy, knockout pretty quickly in the NCAA tournament. Could he slide back to, the middle back end of the lottery? I guess anything's possible, but I do think with the amount of NBA scouts and GMs who I see at the games, I think they know who he is at this point.
You've been doing this a long time. Are you excited for Saturday?
Oh, absolutely. I always like good home games and big crowds. I'll tell you one thing, the crowds at Providence this year have been the best from start to finish that maybe I've ever seen. They've done a great job, obviously, marketing a great player like Chris, but the fans, to their credit, have consistently come out and showed up, and I give him a lot of credit.
And it probably helps when Cooley's going like that to the crowd, which he does
As
often.
long as you and I don't have to do that, Yanni. You know, we just like to stay in our
No
seats
cheering
and
in
watch.
the press box.
Exactly.
All right, Kevin McNamara, thanks so much. You can read him at projo.com and in the Providence Journal, and we'll have more from the Sports Wrap coming up right after this.